The following podcast contains spoilers and adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
The Showdown Podcast with Corey and Vic. A debate on what movie is better, Corey's choice versus Vic's choice. They each plead their case and try to destroy the others. It's a combat of subjective opinion. I'm Brad Scott, your impartial judge, and as always, my say is final.
Welcome to the award-winning Showdown Podcast. This is the Andy D. Memorial Battle Royal Classic, featuring the late Andy D. Today's combatants, Vic Black Lantern Miller and his film The Spirit versus Corey Origin Trail Miller and his film Scott Pilgrim versus the World. With your host, Brad Scott, let us prepare to podcast.
I'm not dead.
Welcome to the Showdown Podcast. That is Andy D. He is our special guest today. He is a rapper, songwriter, producer. Andy, welcome back to the award-winning Showdown Podcast.
Glad to be here and still alive.
Excellent. Excuse me. Today, as you heard, we're off to a great start. Be coughing, almost burping, sounding like Corey. Today is a comic book themed showdown, and you guys both picked movies that I didn't even realize were from comic books. So one I never heard of, which is Vic's movie The Spirit, and Corey chose Scott Pilgrim versus the World for some reason. So, Corey, you get to call the coin toss today. What is it going to be?
I'm going to pick heads.
Siri, toss a coin.
It's tails.
All right, Vic, you get to, you can choose to go first or defer.
Go ahead, sir.
All right.
Okay, he's this.
All right. Scott Pilgrim is a young man who's in his early 20s who is currently dating a 17-year-old girl who, amongst his friends, does not think it's a good idea, but they're like, whatever. He has a band.
His friends don't think it's a good idea for him to date her?
Well, yeah, kind of. They're like, isn't she a little bit young? Especially his sister.
A little bit young?
Yeah, a little bit.
How old is she?
She's 17.
Oh, and how old is he?
He's they don't say how old he is, but he's at least 21 because he drinks in a couple different scenes.
Hey everybody, it's Corey here. I just wanted to let you know I had to cut a little section out of my introduction of Scott Pilgrim because the audio was getting a lot of feedback for whatever reason and a lot of staticky noise. So I just felt it better rather than to let it go on and irritate you. I just cut it all out altogether, and now you get to listen to me and be irritated by that. So back to the show.
It's a three-piece band. One character's name is Stephen Stills, which I think is kind of funny. I would imagine that when the guy that created the comic, I would imagine he had to have been a classic rock fan because.
Who was that created the comic?
I don't know what his name was. Doesn't matter. We're not talking about the comics.
We're talking about movies based on a comic. You know
right.
What they're doing.
Yep. So one character's named Stephen Stills, and played by Mark Webber, and the drummer is Kim Pine, played by Allison Pill. She is a very angst-ridden girl. She's actually a ex-girlfriend of Scott's, and they also have a roadie, I guess, and a kid by the name of Young Neil, which is why I say that he must have been a classic rock fan. For those of you that don't know, there is an artist named Neil Young. Anyhow, his girlfriend, like I said, is named Knives, which I don't really know how she got the name, but eventually she ends up becoming very kick-ashes in the end, which I'll get to in a minute. So they have this band, and they're going to play in a battle of the bands, and they go up against one band. What?
You amaze me.
Why?
Your knowledge of what the comic book is about is fleeting. Knives is named that because she's Asian and it's spelled as an Asian thing. that's why she's called Knives.
Well, yes,
Play on the fact that her name is Knives by making her a kick-ass knife fighter.
but she doesn't have knives in the
I
entire
digress.
thing. She doesn't even have knives in the entire
Well, if you
episode.
ever read the comic book,
Well, yeah, I know, but again, we're talking about the movie, not the...
based on the comic book.
Yes.
Because that's the theme of the song thing.
So anyhow, they play in this battle of the bands, which they end up winning, and they end up going on to open up for another band who is fronted by Scott's ex-girlfriend, played by is it Anna Paquin? I always thought it was, but I may be wrong about that. Anyhow, not yeah.
Great knowledge of the film you're
Shut up.
representing.
Shut up. So anyway,
What's
he has
her
this
name?
dream. He has this dream about this girl delivering stuff to him on roller skates. The next day, he sees her, and he's already in love, and has to be with her. At the same time, he's having to deal with, oh yeah, I've got this other Knives. I'm actually dating her, so how do I get rid of her? So he doesn't really know how to do it. And he finally ends up breaking up with her because he ends up going out on a date once he meets Ramona, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. He meets her at a party. He ends up getting to go out on a date with her after he finds out she works at Amazon and has something delivered to his house by her. This is all set in Canada, and he finds out that she's American and she has no friends, so she goes out with him. They tend to hit it off, and in the meantime, he finds out, he gets this email from one of her ex-boyfriends, which he passes off as not, the email doesn't make any sense, so he's like, whatever, just delete. Then at one of their gigs, that boyfriend shows up and wants to fight him, and in true arcade style, they end up battling like as if they were in Street Fighter or Tekken or one of those battle type video games. He ends up winning and finds out that he has to fight every one of her ex-boyfriends, or actually exes, because we find out later that one of her exes is a girl. So, but instead of fighting her, she actually fights her because he can't hit a girl. So they end up battling, but she can't die because it has to be Scott that beats her. So instead of her fighting, he stands there while Ramona uses his fists and kicks her and with his feet. And so he's basically like a dummy, and she's controlling him. So she ends up beating him. They end up getting their whole point of their whole thing is to try and get a record contract, and they find out in the end that this record contract is through one of Ramona's ex-boyfriends who he has to beat in the finals. That's the final boyfriend that he has to beat, and he first gets killed, but then while he's dead, figures out how to go about beating the ex-boyfriend. So he comes back to life and then goes through the whole scenario all over again, and knowing the whole setup and what's going to play out, he's able to go through all these different guards and beats all them real quick. Gets to Jason Schwartzman's character, who is that last ex, and beats him. But once he beats him, he finds out the last person he has to beat is himself, because now he is one of the exes because Ramona's no longer with him, so he has to actually beat himself. But instead of actually beating himself, they actually end up becoming friends, and in the end set up a time to go hang out, whatever. So, and in the end, Ramona ends up back with him, and they do live happily ever after. The whole thing, the thing that I really hadn't mentioned much about yet, was this whole thing. Visually, it's like a comic book come to life, because just the special effects that they used. It's directed by Edgar Wright, so you see a lot of humor in what he does here.
That's kind of funny.
What?
You had nothing but bad things to say about Edgar Wright when he was my director for The World's End during the beer movie. Now you're praising him because he's your director for your movie.
Well, yeah.
He's calling you a flip-flopper.
Flapjack, bitch.
I'll talk about this because obviously Corey isn't. The original concept was based around two premises, which is one: what if after a life of playing video games, fighting games, someone confronted you and you could actually have the ability to fight like a Street Fighter character? And then the second came when Brian Lee O'Malley, who is responsible, the creator of this, was dating his future wife, Hope Larson. He learned she had dated three guys named Matthew O'Malley. So he came up with the idea of the League of Matthews, which then turned into the League of Evil Exes. And Matthew Patel is the only evil ex to keep the name Matthew. I think that's fascinating. It's a good idea.
Wait, is that a true story?
Yeah.
She
That's
She dated three Matthew O'Malleys.
That's so
And
weird.
he was Leo. He's Brian Lee O'Malley.
She really liked the last name.
A lot of O'Malley's.
The singer of the other band was played by Brie Larson, and her bassist was played by Brandon Routh.
You think she has AIDS?
Who? Brie Larson?
Yeah. Charlie Sheen.
Oh no, that's Brie Olson. Okay. So anyhow, the bassist in her band is played by Brandon Routh, who just happens to be an ex-boyfriend of Ramona. They end up
You really couldn't say for sure that Brie Larson doesn't have AIDS. I don't feel like you've seen a recent test of her. Maybe she does.
Yeah, that's true.
And Charlie Sheen claims a lot of victims, so
That's
she
true.
may have been
Maybe
with
she
it.
hit both.
We don't know.
Yeah, indirectly maybe even. So anyhow,
In fact, we should probably all get tested here at this table, just in case.
Instead of 7 ways of bacon, it's
It's
7
true.
ways
Everyone should know their status. I concur.
Yeah, join us next
That's just public
episode.
as we reveal
The
our
show goes to the health clinic.
So anyhow, Brandon is
We
one of.
already know what Corey's going to come down with.
You know what, though? Statistically, one of us has herpes.
That's on my lip right now. You're right. It's just there. It's like, well, I guess the cold sore hopefully is both of them have healed by now. Since I'm not dead.
Yes.
And now he can kayak and ride a bike.
Yeah.
And,
And I am a Valtrex commercial at all times.
He ends up at one point has to fight Brandon Routh's character, who happens to be vegan, and he tricks Brandon Routh's character into drinking soy milk, and which breaks his whole vegan experience, and he loses his superpowers. And
you know what Brandon Routh's superpowers were, right?
Soy milk
The
is
ability
not
to be
vegan?
able to destroy a superhero franchise.
Soy milk is not vegan?
Yeah, wait. Is it really?
Soy milk
no,
is
he
a
told him.
vegetable.
No, he told him. He told him.
fake soy milk?
He told him that it was soy milk, but he actually switched it.
Okay, but that's not what you said, so
Oh,
you're
okay.
throwing us off here.
Well, that's what I meant.
Wait, who is Brandon Routh and what?
He
what
played
franchise?
Superman in Superman Returns.
Oh yeah, I immediately forgot that. That's true.
So it's easily forgetable.
There's a reason why. DC, gotta love those guys.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Superman versus Batman is going to be amazing.
So, Batman
Right.
is the one DC franchise that they can pretty much not fuck up. They can cause problems with it, but they can't fuck it up. Superman is not going to be a reason why that story is good. I can almost guarantee it.
okay.
It's
So
going to be half of the reason.
damn it.
Well, of course it's going to be half the reason because he's half the movie. But
Yeah.
I'm just telling you,
Half his logo.
you're going to find that Batman is the more superior character in that story. I'm almost positive.
I've always thought that, though. I feel like that's I think that's everybody's personal.
Can we talk about
whether
this
you like
later?
Blondes or brunettes.
I think if we said out of the 4 people here, who likes Superman over Batman? 1 out of 4.
It's true.
So
Okay, can we get back to this movie?
But
I'm so bored with your movie. I'd rather talk about this.
I came late to that opinion though. So.
It was a pretty damn good roundabout we started to go to.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, please continue.
Okay.
Please continue, Corey.
With your riveting storytelling.
But Clifton Collins and Thomas Jane bust in and arrest him, or not? They don't arrest him, but they take away his powers for
Whose
not being
powers?
vegan. Brandon Routh.
Oh, okay.
Because they're saying that it's his third strike, and they bring up other instances where he was not being vegan.
He broke veg.
Yes, he did.
Is that a real thing?
That's a real thing.
It's called breaking veg.
Breaking veg. It's just like
It's been a vegan cheats, basically.
Yeah, it's just like breaking edge. It's like a play off breaking edge when a straight edge person breaks their straight edgeness.
Are you vegan?
No.
Are you straight edge?
No.
I just thought I finished the conversation.
I'm neither.
So anyhow, one thing I thought was kind of cool was when they went in to this concert. When they're going in, there's actually a number 4 above the door as they're going in. Who he ends up, Brandon Routh's character was the 4th X that he had to beat. So I thought that was kind of cool. Chris Evans is also in it, who plays Captain America. He's in it as one of the other X's, and he is a skateboarder turned actor. And Scott decides this is how I'm going to beat him. Gets him to grind a stair railing, and he gets going too fast. And as he's going down, you see a score come up, and the score keeps going up because he's able to stay on it. All of a sudden, he gets going too fast, hits the ground, dies, and as every X has died, coins have come up.
You know what that's a reference to?
I would
Mario
think Sonic.
Brothers?
No.
Oh, it is Sonic.
Really?
Oh, well, Sonic
It's
of the
dead.
Rings.
It's
Huh?
death.
Yeah.
You know what that's from?
No, not offhand, I guess.
From Tony Hawk. From the comic book Tony Hawk. I found like the video,
The video
Tony
game?
Hawk, when he grinds, the more you grind, the higher your score
Yeah,
gets.
yeah.
And if you get to a certain level, you get unstable, you fall off, you die easily.
Yeah.
It's a pull straight from that.
I feel like it is a 50-50 split, because look at the celebrities. Seinfeld is a notorious Superman fan. Shaquille O'Neal is a notorious Superman fan.
He's a
Superman
notorious Steel.
everything.
He's a notorious Steel fan because he was in the stupid movie. So that.
But he
is what
also
made him
has a
do it.
Superman bed. He
Nick-
has a
Nick
Superman
Cage?
tattoo. Nick Cage. Well, that's because.
Well, but he also did
Ghost Rider.
too. So.
That's true.
One of the other characters in here is his roommate named Wallace, who's played by Karen Culkin. Very funny character. Aubrey Plaza is also another character too. That she is. If basically you take her character on Parks and Rec and amp it up a little bit more, she's really angst ridden. And the funny thing is, every time she cusses, there's like a kind of sound effect, and it blacks over her lips.
Censor her?
Yeah, and, like a censor bar. And at one point, he says, "How are you doing that with your voice?" It's like, "Don't fucking worry about it." But when she says "fucking," it does it again. There's so much humor in this, and as we said, there's a lot of it's very video game related, and it's just fun. On top of that, Scott and Knives are also video game players. At one scene, they go and they play one of those kind of Dance Revolution games, except it's a fighting type game, and they're so coordinated in the beginning. Second time that they go, he just doesn't care because he's trying to break up with her and he's not into it. They end up using those dance moves in the end to beat Jason Schwartzman's character and do him off. So it's a really fun movie, and there's so much humor. You can really, like I said, you can see Edgar Wright's influence on it, and it's straight.
Horrible director Edgar Wright.
That was that movie. That was the old movie.
I will say this. I feel like
that movie was newer than that one, by the way.
I know.
I feel like this isn't going to count against you or anything, but I do feel like it's weird. This movie lost money.
I'm not surprised.
Budget of $60 million, grossed 46.7. That's pretty bad.
Well, Michael Cera,
like at the time, like he had done Juno, he had done what's the Nickelodeon movie?
Superbad.
Superbad. So like it was, they thought he was going to be like a gold mine for this movie, and literally people did not like him in this movie. And there were people that were
I think he's a hard person to buy as a hero, as somebody who's going to fight.
Yeah,
that's almost exactly what people.
Now let me ask you this: do either of you know this? Does anybody know the source material, like the comic?
The comic, yeah.
Is that fitting for the character? Is the character in the comic someone you wouldn't expect?
The character in the comic book is like he's not as awkward as they make as he acts him out. Like he's like he's a loose slacker, but he's self-assured. Like this, they make him seem like he's just this cowardly kid that doesn't know what he wants to do.
But he brings a lot of Michael Cera characteristics.
But
they cast
it's
Michael
literally
Cera.
literally
the source material doesn't match how he portrays that character.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of the people who are fans of the actual comic book are like, the fuck?
Well, because I feel like people do that anyways. Like, even if a character maybe should fit, like when they first made Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, people are like, it's like, yeah, if you look at Peter Parker, he makes a decent Peter Parker, you know?
See, the thing is, when comics are brought to the big screen, I think a lot of comic book fans, they have in their head what the character should be like, and if it's not what they if it's not what they wanted in their heads, they start to downplay
But
it a
here's
little
the
bit.
problem with this particular movie. This particular movie, the way that they made it specifically to gear towards the fanboy and girl that like this comic book and like that story. They didn't do anything to try to make it so that it reached a wider audience. Whereas you see comic book movies now will expand the character out so that it does meet with the average everyday Joe that goes to a movie that can say, oh, I really enjoy this character. They didn't do that at all. They just they pigeonholed that character into exactly what he was from the comic.
It's the Wild West all the way back in 2010.
See,
That's how they used to do things, you know?
as if it hasn't already been realized, I don't know anything about the source material. I haven't even read it. I've seen like little bits of it here and there, but just having watched the movie, though, yeah, it's Michael Cera. It's the same. It's almost like the same thing he's done in some of the other stuff, but you can kind of relate to him a little bit as well too in this role, and I think he was cast well.
One thing I read about it though, like one of the statements that was made, that they picked him to be in the role because they thought he was going to be the hot shit for that role. But like a lot of people were saying that him in that role, like they're like, oh yeah, well he did all these other movies, he was really good in those movies, and then he did this one and he sucked like hell. And they're like, the other movies, he probably had such good cast members that they kind of carried him, and that gave him that put him in that position of being able to take that role. But I just didn't think he pulled it off. As far as the character,
ever since the first time I saw this, I've always liked this movie. It was because it was
got him portraying
right.
The character.
And that's what we're judging here is the movie. And ever since the first time I watched this, like I really like this because it does have that bit of video game stuff. There's the comic book aspect too, with some of the visual effects that they do, and a lot of the jokes I thought were funny too. And I don't know how many times I've probably seen this 4 or 5 different times, and I love it every time I see it. And if you've ever looked at my top 100 on Letterboxd, you'd see that it's in there. So
in your lower half, like number 69,
it's still in there. Out of the millions of movies I've watched, it's in the top 100. That's all that matters.
So, my movie, with that said, is The Spirit. So, a little bit of background about this. I have never actually seen this movie. This is the first time I watched this movie. I heard about it. No, shut up. I heard about the movie from a friend of mine who's a big Frank Miller fan. He knows I like Frank Miller as an artist, and he's like, "You've never seen The Spirit?" I'm like, "No, I don't think I have." So he recommended me to watch this movie. Literally 3 days before we decided that this topic came up, so I was like, "I'm going to watch this movie and see if I like it." Knowing that it was going to come into this fight going, wow, I could really fuck myself over with this movie. And he tried to tell me, you didn't pick something else from Frank Miller? It's like, no, because I didn't want to pick something that's already been out there, already been talked about a million times, that we already know it is. So, the other part to this is, as everyone knows from the show, I love Samuel L. Jackson. And I found out that he's in this movie, and he plays the main bad guy called Octopus. He is a former coroner for Central City, and he has basically decided that he's going to put up his good guy pants and take on, become a supervillain. And basically he wants to eliminate and kill anybody that gets in his way of his journey to becoming immortal. So he has started doing experiments on people, and the main character for the story is Danny Colt, played by Gabriel Match. I don't know how to say his last name. Is it Machete or Match?
Machete.
It's not Machete. There's no E, you fool. So he is a young cop who gets murdered on the line of duty, killed on the line of duty. They send him to the coroner, and he gets experimented on. He gets turned into the spirit. Now, the spirit, because he comes back from the dead due to this experiment, he has basically escape death, and death is not happy with this. So she is played by another character, Laura. What's her name? Crap. I can't remember her name.
You got 4 pages of notes, and you didn't.
Hold on. I can't remember her name. Anyway, death is after him, and he sees her constantly in his visions, and he knows that she's trying to bring him back. So at some point, she decides she's just going to let him go back and try to protect the city from evil. So she lets him get away. However, every time he goes down or gets a die, she tries to get him to just come to the dark side, basically, and die. He fights to try to stop Octopus, who is now figured out how to correct his mistakes that he made, because he tried to make himself immortal, but he's not actually immortal until he gets the blood of Hercules. So the story actually draws in a number of different aspects. So it's got some mythology in it and different things. He goes after the blood of Hercules and the golden fleece, which another criminal has already stolen and is hiding from the public, trying to wait for it to
Golden
go off.
Fleece?
Yes.
So
Golden
like
fleece.
a sweater from Old Navy?
Yeah, fleece. It's gold. It's made from the golden ram. So the octopus is trying to secure both of these relics in order to create, to become immortal. So he goes to find these 2 boxes that have the traits in them. A fight ensues. He only ends up with the fleece. He doesn't end up with the Hercules' blood, which is what he needs to become immortal. So he basically spends the movie killing everything in his path, trying to get a hold of this blood. And obviously, the spirit is trying to stop him. It's a film. The comic book itself was a strip from the 1940s and 50s. That it's like a noir style comic strip. So he's a detective, and it's always like real dark and brooding kind of character. But he's a real ladies' man. So throughout the entire movie, everybody he comes up against are basically women that either want to kill him or fall in love with him. So based on whichever way that hammer drops is whether or not they try to kill him or he makes them fall in love with him. And a number of the characters that he comes across, he basically manages to turn them to his side and get them to do what he wants, which is to help him stop the octopus. It's very, I guess, true to the source material, which was, like I said, it's a film noir detective kind of movie, if you were to go with that. Kind of along the lines of Dick Tracy, but not quite so colorful. Frank Miller, again, is a very dark, brooding type character artist, and a lot of his work ends up like that. He did Sin City and 300, or a couple of his bigger movies that he did later on. But this style of movie was obviously before he did those movies, so this is kind of like his lead up to doing and kind of perfecting those movies. This was his first hit at that. And he wrote and directed this movie as well. So by the end of the movie, the major battle between
300
Octopus,
actually came out first.
The main battle between Octopus and the Spirit is that they get into a big battle. They're having
Sin City
gunfight.
came out
These guys
before
are
it
shooting
too.
each other, and then killing each other. He blows up Octopus, and Octopus basically explodes, and he believes that he's won the battle. However, he has not won the battle because Octopus obviously has the ability to regenerate himself if he can get a hold of Hercules' blood, which he has not done. However, his crazed assistant, who's played by Scarlett Johansson, picks up his finger and basically says, "We'll start again." So there could be an opening left for a sequel, which just probably shouldn't happen.
Fortunately, never happened.
Probably because your movie actually did worse.
Yes.
The budget was estimated at about $60 million, and it grossed just under $30 million worldwide.
It was a flop.
Huge flop.
Big flop. However, as far as film noir movies go, and as far as sticking towards what the actual comic book source material is, it's actually pretty good to that storyline. Another really funny part about the whole thing is Samuel L. Jackson was the first person that he thought of for that character of the octopus. And he changes outfits every single time you see him. He's in a different outfit. He even dresses up like a Nazi
at one point in a full Nazi
Plus
outfit.
him?
Yeah.
Well, that's because he was probably filming 7 other movies at the time. So show up in
Whatever he was wearing from the
that other movie, yeah.
I don't remember him in his Nazi
I'm
movie.
going to do all my Nazi scenes from these movies in one day. I would just put on one suit and I'm going.
Three different studios. He just pops from one to the other. He was also a samurai with a gigantic top knot and a cowboy with a huge cowboy hat. It's just he had a lot of fun with the character more than anything, and actually got.
I'm sick of these motherfucking spirits.
Motherfucking city.
Now, you know, the problem with this movie is, yeah, it may have stuck close to the source material, and obviously Frank Miller wrote the source material as well too. But the problem,
The source material.
did he not? Oh, okay. Well,
He wasn't even born.
I was under. I thought I read that he was. Anyhow, well, even still, using the same,
Eisner wrote the book, actually wrote the story.
using the same type of visual that 300 did a little bit, and then even more so Sin City. I think that's what deterred a lot of people. It's like, you know, come on, do something. This is just like those movies, and they're wanting to compare that. Plus, they didn't understand it. I understand that it was a film noir, so I got that what they were going for. But a lot of people didn't understand it, and if they did understand it, they just didn't like it because it was they just thought it was stupid.
Well,
and I think
you also have to understand that it's built in the same story as Sin City. Like the way he developed the storyline for this off of that source material is it's the same city, it's the same time frame, it's the same kind of people.
Yeah,
so the characters are
maybe
meant to be part of that.
And that may be true, but the fact that people don't understand that they don't know that that's the case. They're drawing comparisons to Sin City, and they're like, this is just fucking stupid. You know how people are. People want to say, "Oh, it's just like this other movie," and then they want to downplay it. And again, going back to it being film noir, they just don't get it. And film noir is not for everybody.
You get it.
I got it.
Okay. That's all that matters.
But then again, I didn't even watch the whole thing. When this came out, I was actually working in a movie theater, and we were dead. So I went in there and watched a little bit of it just because I was bored, and it actually made time go by. I didn't see the whole thing, and that was the only time I'd ever seen it, and I haven't seen the whole thing.
This isn't working out in your favor, Vic. On IMDb, for More Like This, you got Eight-Legged Freak, Elektra, Ghost Rider, Jonah Hex, Max Payne, Machete Kills, Punisher Warzone, Black Dahlia.
Nanny Diaries, I've got.
It's because those are all like film noir and then hero movies.
And stuff. The stars from those other movies. These are their other movies.
They're the movies they were in. So.
And Punisher Warzone was good. I don't know what there's no comparing the two here, but that's neither here nor there. We're not arguing those points.
It's commercial time! Corey, where can the people find you at?
You can
Just kidding. Andy D, you're our special guest. Where can the people find you at?
Let's see. My YouTube channel is Party Werewolf. All of my social media stuff is at Andy D Loves You. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're on Bandcamp. We're on every conceivable digital platform. I think we get the most money from Xbox Live, so do that.
Nice.
All right, Corey.
You can find me.
Yeah, right. Vic, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Xbox One at Black and Angry. That's BLAQ and Angry, as well as on any of my social media, Miller King 51. You can also find me on my podcast Scandalize every Friday night, starting next season.
Corey?
Should I try?
Nope. You can find me at BradScottComedy.com and social media at IndieBradScott. All right. Corey?
All right.
Actually, the Showdown Podcast is on Facebook, the Showdown Podcast. Give us a like. Somebody should. Follow us on Twitter at the Showdown Pod. All right, Corey.
You can find me on Letterboxd and Instagram and Twitter at NKOGonzo.
All right. And without further ado, let's get back to the show. All right, welcome back to the show.
Keeping the white man down.
Let's, it's that time. It is the moment of truth. Andy D, you are a special guest. Who do you have winning this match?
Well,
Nope, stop. I'm going to throw in the towel and give him the win.
What?
You heard me.
Okay, this is a first here on the showdown.
Why?
I think
Just because.
I think he knows when he's been beat.
No, it has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the fact that I took a gamble on a movie that I actually enjoyed, but I just thought was horrible. So I'm going to give him the win.
Wow.
all right.
Here on the showdown, we do like to have firsts, and this certainly is one
I'm
of
waiting to
those.
see what the response is going to be. I'm waiting for it.
Well, the
It's busy.
response is, how the fuck do we fill this time, Dick? We plotted out. This is...
Because it's real simple. What were you going to do? How were you going to
All right, yeah, just for shits and giggles.
Well, I was going to say you gave me a couple turds on this one to choose from, which was, I think, buttressed by the host's citing of the losses that both of these movies made commercially, which was hilarious. I was actually going to go with Scott Pilgrim, with the caveat that I think that both of these movies, they really deal with one-trick ponies. We spoke during the break. I do like Frank Miller. I do think his film style is very similar stylistically throughout his body of work. And that could be okay, because no one else is really doing that. But I do also think that as far as a movie like The Spirit, I prefer the movie from the 90s called The Shadow that Alec Baldwin was in. And even though it was missing Samuel L. Jackson, which really sucks and really was the best part of The Spirit, I really like The Shadow. And I know I'm
That was a shadow for Halloween.
Yeah. That was based off of a radio serial, I think, not a comic. But I really liked that movie, and I know I'm in the vast minority in that opinion.
Actually, not really. I actually enjoy the movie.
Yeah, you dig? Okay, it's similar though. You know, it's got the same feel, and I like that. I like that kind of jazz age or 30s sort of vibe. And when it comes to Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, I actually like the whole ensemble cast there. It really does have like every actor of a generation that is doing anything in film in it, and it's hilarious. Just for that in that respect, Michael Cera is totally a dude who is cast just to play himself, and that's probably why he can faithfully be pull off the source material. But I still like him for that. He's a character. Or Michael Cera, every character he plays is not really likable, and I kind of like that there's a non-likability to everything he does.
He's consistent.
Yeah,
He's consistently not liked in what he does.
Yeah.
It's good. It's like what Seinfeld taught us, you know? It's like these people are horrible, and sometimes that's okay. Your protagonist does not have to be likable. And I think the big question in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is like, why are there like 3 or 4 ladies like vying for this dude's affection? Like, is Canada really that strapped for like eligible bachelors? For I don't know.
And he's not even eligible.
Yeah.
He's sleeping in his best friend's bed. Who's gay at that, and like he doesn't really have much of a job. He's like he's really not eligible at all.
He's already taken by
But
knives.
for whatever reason, these chicks like him. These chicks dig him.
So weird. But I do. I just like it more because I'd probably already seen the style, the spirit in Frank Miller's other work, and I had never seen video games used in film quite like Scott Pilgrim.
Right.
Until like Pixels, which I'm not even going to watch.
Oh, you know what? You bring up Pixels. I liked it.
I liked it.
Really?
Too.
Okay.
Yeah. See, I'm glad somebody else
Maybe
did.
I'll get it on video. I don't know.
I have a full size banner of Pixels.
Really?
Yeah.
I heard terrible things, but I'll give it a
Yeah.
shot.
So Brad, I am just chomping at the bit to hear you degrade my choice to throw this match.
Well, first of all, Andy D, the host.
Yeah.
We just did commercials where I said my name 3 times.
Oh, no, I know your name's Brad.
Oh, okay.
I was just
I thought you were going with like
No.
when I call people boss. Like I
title, that's specific.
Yeah.
Oh, my award-winning.
With no exclamation.
Sorry, as Brad told us, the horrible statistics of those
That's all I can
films.
think of. Dude. I didn't hear anything else you said. This motherfucker really doesn't
He
know what
doesn't
it
know
is.
my fucking name.
Second episode, right after the commercial break, the host, the guest.
I called him dead and everything. No, Brad, I'm sorry. I was deferring to your title.
I'm not going to listen.
It is touchy. I forgot to tell you.
Sorry.
I'm an award winner now. The bar's been raised. So I honestly was prepared to declare that both of you lost. Because these were two. You had all of comic book movies. All of them. Except for -3 that we've had on the show. -2. And you went with Michael Cera as a superhero and whatever the fuck that piece of shit was.
It wouldn't be an episode if we didn't disappoint you in one of our picks. Come on.
But both.
Well, that's happened before, too.
Yes.
It's different disappointing me. You disappointed the audience. They may take back our golden microphone after this episode. We need to keep it in mind. We need to put it into a witness protection so they can't find it. Indy Podnut, I'm sorry. These guys dropped the ball.
I held up my geekiness.
but-
I know the stories.
But I will say, if I was going to have to choose somebody, if it did kind of feel like you knew you lost.
Well, it was
On every angle.
Let's put it this way. After watching the movie, like I said, I enjoyed the movie, but I enjoyed Scott Pilgrim more than I enjoyed this movie. So it was just a matter of bad choice when it comes down to it. Because they're both like, there's no way that I could defend this after watching it. Like, because when I first saw it, I was like, oh, it's gonna be like The Shadow. It's gonna be pretty good. I like other Frank Miller movies, so I assumed that I would be able to defend this movie because I can defend the fuck out of 300. I can defend the fuck out of.
Then why did you choose them?
Because they're just the same things over and over again. I wanted something different.
And for the record, since we are recording, I did warn you about that, didn't I?
What?
That
I said you did. I said you did.
Yeah.
But okay. Aside from that, I felt like after you had put because you could have thrown in the towel when you had fucking Project Almanac, or when you had Police Academies.
There's nothing wrong with Police Academy.
That's true.
Thank you, sir. Nothing wrong with Police Academy.
But there was things wrong with your argument to where it would have warranted you throwing in the towel. And you decided to ride out those decisions.
And I will say too, obviously a film's commercial success or failure really doesn't always bear out how, there are some crappy comic book movies that have made a lot of money.
Spider-Man 3.
That was, but
to say the least.
it doesn't speak to the originality or something of the.
There have been
film.
plenty of movies that both of us have argued that didn't meet the bar.
You had all the comic book movies, and you guys both just shat yourselves.
What's the point of doing the same thing over? I understand your point, and you make this point whenever we pick something. Mainstream.
We've done one comic book movie episode, one, and then you weren't even a fighter. You were a fucking referee back then. Vic, have you forgotten?
It wasn't a comic book.
Have you forgotten?
It wasn't a comic book. It was superheroes.
Okay, well,
there's a difference.
Okay,
but they were still comic books.
No, you know what? No, you know the difference is you had more of a selection with this because you got to include all the superhero movies plus comics, and you still
people need to hear new things.
You would have been better off with the Phantom.
Well,
that's not even fit the genre.
The Phantom wasn't a comic.
No.
We just said that.
That was The Shadow.
You just told you.
No, that was The Shadow.
You're talking about freaking Affleck's Phantom.
Oh yeah. Try to
Affleck's Phantom.
Try to get one over on me.
You would have been all over me for that one too.
All right. We're just pouring.
I will say there are a couple good comic books. I was expecting. You could go to Ghost World, or you could go to what was the one about the Harvey Picar? What was that movie?
American Splendor.
Yeah. Could have done that too. I guess those are the only ways that it opens up beyond superheroes.
Fucking Superman. You had Superman. You had the original Batman.
Did I not tell you I don't like
Michael Keaton? You could have done the Adam West Ward Batman and been in a better position.
Wait, are we gonna get into the Batman
the
versus
shark.
Superman thing? Because we could.
No, Corey doesn't want to hear that.
No,
You guys tell us about a boring movie.
I didn't want to hear it during my
We
pitch.
already had that go. No, but here's something I do want to talk about. Moving away from comics. I think we've all had enough of that talk for a day. Andy, you are a rapper,
Yes.
and Straight Outta Compton came out this year.
It's true.
And did you?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
What?
I haven't seen it, and
Bruh, I've seen Funny People and Comedian. Like, you have to see. I feel like that's one of those you have to see.
well, I
People
have
don't
to
want
see it.
your
I have to
opinion.
see it. I don't have to pay Dr. Dre money in the movie theater first run money to see that.
But you gonna watch the bootleg with a dude's
No,
head?
I might pay him some Redbox money, but I'm not. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that he
spending the $50
he
to
glossed
check the
over.
movie
The third that
Yeah.
he glossed over.
Well, I mean, if you're making your own movie, like,
Yeah, you're gonna keep out the domestic violence. I know that,
yeah, and
but
it's not. But I mean, he and Ice Cube did have a good point of, hey, we couldn't fit everything in.
that's
They're
true.
like, it was still a long movie. We got a lot in.
It's true, and I will see it. But I'm like, okay, you're not gonna
So, what are some of your favorite rap movies that you have seen
about rap.
about rap music? Yes.
Well, one of my biggest sadnesses about Straight Outta Compton is that they actually cut out. I've heard that they cut out a bit about JJ Fad, who was like one of my favorite rap groups, and they're all ladies, and it was actually their success that allowed them to cut the record Straight Outta Compton, which is awesome.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was actually the Supersonic, so the success of JJ Fad Supersonic, and
Do you know the song?
Yeah, I know the song. I didn't know.
You just had a blank look on your face for a second. I didn't
no,
know
it's
what you
just-
were talking about.
No, I know the
Something
song.
like-
I just didn't know that there was a correlation.
But JJ Fad was from the late 80s, early 90s, and that's the era that I think was really amazing for, like, it was like when hip-hop was first coming in to the light of pop culture. You had, like, basically hip-hop was pop culture.
West Coast hip-hop, yeah, it was just
Yeah.
building up at that
Well, just like, I mean, all this stuff, it was like the time when pop culture was just, it was before grunge, BG, the time before grunge, when everything was just bright, colorful, asymmetrical hairstyles, Salt and Peppa. You had Kid and Play.
The high top fade.
Yep. You had, it was basically from the original movies like Crush Groove and Beat Street, which were both really awesome. And really,
rap influenced.
yeah, and like really kind of documented in a really strange way. Everyone played themselves except for Russell Simmons.
Yeah.
Everyone, because it was like all the stuff in that movie had just happened like a year before. It's like, hey, let's make the movie about what's going on right now next year.
A young LL Cool J.
Yeah, yeah.
Playing LL Cool J.
The Beastie Boys come in. LL Cool J comes in into like the NYU dorm room.
Very much like the wrestling movies, or you just have like all the wrestlers in all the
Oh,
movies.
yeah.
Like they were all pretty much in the same studio. They were all from the same studio. So like they were just like, bring them all into the movie. Let's get everybody to see who they are.
I grew up with rap music, and that is way more. I didn't even know if you answered the question.
Wait, what was
I don't
question?
remember what the question
What are
was
your
either.
favorite rap movies?
Oh, Crush Groove. That's
Yeah,
Crush
there you
Groove.
go, Crush Groove.
That's what I was talking about. And Ray Don Chong's in that. Tommy Chong's daughter. She's a love interest. Beat Street is great. It's a little more serious. But, Break In, Break In 2, those are like the original.
Boogaloo.
Yeah. Electric Boogaloo. I love Electric Boogaloo. But then all the kid, you had
House Party.
House Party 2, Class Act.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
man.
what I was gonna say. Class
I had
Act.
a moment with Class Act this week. Anyway, I love that movie. But yeah, I mean, even through like 8 Mile, I mean, there hasn't been like a whole ton, but 8 Mile was like, it was Karate Kid with hip hop, and that was great.
What about Malibu's Most Wanted?
That's what you want.
I think there's a lot of rappers who might shoot you for your movies in that same category.
Malibu. Yeah, I mean,
B-Rad.
there haven't been like a ton, but there, I really do find something anytime.
What rapper biopic would you like to see? They've done Biggie's.
Yeah, have they done Tupac's yet? 'Cause-
Not yet. I believe it's in the works. Although I've heard a couple things. I've heard they're doing a whole Tupac movie, and then I've heard that they're going to do basically a kind of sequel to Straight Outta Compton, but it's going to focus on Snoop and Tupac.
Really?
Much like Straight Outta Compton focused on NWA.
Wow, if they're making that, I just want to watch that then. No, you know what I want to? I want to see Africa Bambaataa. I want to know
Oh wow!
what's up with Africa Bambaataa.
Wow,
How
I
did
was
he?
talking about pulling that out.
Yeah, right. Like no one would. Because look at that dude. He's amazing. He's like, I don't know. He made the funkiest music from like Loving Kraftwerk, which is the whitest, arguably the whitest band in the world. It's like 4 German dudes with synthesizers. You don't get whiter than that.
Let's see third base get a.
That would be great. Well, did you see?
Call Pop Goes the Weasel.
Did you see that dude's reality show though? The whitest rapper reality show.
With
What's his?
Everlast.
No, it was MC Search.
Search.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Search.
Yeah.
He was the host of the whitest the white. It was just called White Rapper. It wasn't the whitest rapper. It was just,
That's Vanilla Ice.
yeah. It wasn't about Malibu's Most Wanted.
Hey, you forgot about the Vanilla Ice movie, Ice Baby or whatever.
No, it was
Cold as Ice.
Cold as Ice. Yeah.
Cool as Ice.
Cool as Ice. Yeah, that's it. I was watching like an old, like a VHS or something recently. There was a preview for that on there, and I was like, "Whoa, yes, this! I remember this."
Well, like there was a whole like,
Or to your
there was,
mother.
like several years where DMX was in every like action movie.
That's true.
Yeah.
For,
That's
like,
true.
Ever.
And I think Ludacris kind of usurped him after DMX fell off a little
Yeah.
bit.
You know,
Ludacris is still in
yeah.
Too Fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
For like impersonating an FBI agent or something.
You know-
It was
you know-
something elaborate.
Yeah, you know that Ludacris is only in the Fast and the Furious because Ja Rule, they hated Ja Rule so much that they kicked him out.
Seriously?
And he
Yeah.
goes, Ja Rule goes, I want more money, I should be getting more money, I'm more famous than all you fools, blah, 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 because I'm a big star rapper. And they're like, get out.
Right now.
What about Hustle and Flow?
I was just thinking Hustle and Flow was
Oh,
great. And
Terrence Howard drives me nuts.
that
That dude,
I swear,
it's like I love that movie until he's like, oh, I like jazz, I don't even like hip hop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? But like
watch
Ludacris is good in
you
that.
know, I do watch it, of course.
I
do watch it.
I like to make the
love it.
joke that that's like the Empire is like what happens after
After Hustle.
Hustle and Flow.
It saves him before years.
Yeah.
What is the white equivalent to Empire?
Dallas.
ER. No, I'm talking about nowadays though. Would be Grey's Anatomy?
Probably.
Is that white people Empire?
Maybe. Well, I think Grey's Anatomy is ending, so yeah, probably up
But in
until
general.
recently, yeah.
I think that's about as close as you get.
Big Bang Theory?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I should also say Disorderlies because I love the Fat Boys.
Billboard, since we're talking about rappers,
Oh, yeah.
they just came out with their top 10
that
rap
list
artists
is
of all
Was
time.
horrible.
the one with Tupac not even on it?
Yes.
Or Snoop not even on it.
I know.
Okay.
Poetic Justice nowhere in there.
Okay.
Poetic Justice.
Lauryn Hill is on the list.
Lauryn Hill's on the list. Lil Wayne is on the list.
Oh, that's that.
What is this list?
Kendrick
This-
Lamar.
This is Billboard's
Kendrick Lamar is amazing.
top 10. Billboard's
But is
top.
he a top 10 all time?
Top
With that
10
new album,
rap
with
artists
that
of
new
all time.
album, he might be. With that new album,
Oh, okay.
where he actually interviews Tupac at the end, which is really incredible.
Okay, I'll go through the list real quick.
Okay.
Lil Wayne's number 10.
But Kendrick's like 9, so that's okay. Like, you know, it's like he's gonna come up. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Ghostface is 8, which to me, he's not even my favorite Wu-Tang
Wu-Tang,
member.
no.
Method Man is
Method Man's my favorite. Lauryn Hill is 7. She's not a rapper in my opinion.
Not well. She hasn't been in a
it's,
while.
it's because of the Fugees.
Yeah.
And the Fugees
It was not just
essential
her.
but it's essential to the development of a rap culture, and that's why she's in there.
Yeah. Andre 3000 is
But
number
this
6.
is supposed to be the number. This is supposed to be the top 10 rappers, not the top 10 most influential.
She might also be a token woman on there. We
Yeah,
don't know.
she.
But I would have rather seen
Which sucks.
Lady of Rage or
Obviously.
Lil Kim or
Foxy
Foxy
Brown.
Brown.
Foxy
I
Brown.
feel like
Or
all
Salt and
those
Pepper.
would've-
Or JJ Fad.
Or JJ Fad, yeah.
Andre 3000 is 6.
I mean, can't.
How do
He's
you have
got.
Andre 3000?
He's got to be on there.
Yeah,
Come
he
on.
does, but I think that they should still have Big Boy in there with him because
Right.
Yeah.
It just should be Outkast.
Well, but I think most people would say he's the more talented.
he's the front.
I don't
but
know, but
without-
You think he's more
I like
talented
Big
rapper?
Boy's
but
solo
Big
album
Boy's-
better than
yeah,
Andre's.
Big Boy's solo album is actually better than his.
Yeah.
Well, even their flows their flows together, like Big Boy's verses are great.
Yeah. Nas is 5. 4 is Rakim.
No one's going to argue with that.
3 is Eminem. 2 is Jay-Z. And Biggie is 1.
I cannot get behind Jay-Z. I
What?
can't do it.
No.
I can't.
That's the one you haven't. You were okay
Yes.
with Lauryn Hill
I
taking issue with Hove.
I will listen to Lauryn Hill over Jay-Z. I don't understand
What?
Jay-Z.
What do you mean? What's not to understand?
Like his
One of
flow,
the greatest rappers of all time.
his flow.
Why do you
People
think-
tell
why do
me.
you feel that?
So people tell me.
I mean, a lot of people do.
Have you listened to the Blueprint?
Yes.
Have you listened to the Black Album?
Yes, I've listened to all of them.
I personally feel like Jay-Z is the greatest rapper of all time, simply for the fact that he spans now, 25 years in an industry that is geared towards the young. He stayed relevant for longer than anyone in the history of the genre.
No. But the thing is, like...
I'd say Run DMC beats him in that.
No, hip-hop...
Not staying relevant.
Hip-hop culture...
Jay-Z started being
I'm not talking about right now. I'm talking about the amount of time that they did stay relevant was longer than Jay-Z.
Okay, hold on.
But that's it, though. Like, hip-hop is pop culture now. So literally everyone who made it big in hip-hop in the late 90s is still around. Ludacris is still making hits.
Right.
Just like Jay-Z. It's kind of like time just froze. And everyone who was making hits at the end of the 90s just keeps getting to make hits.
But when was the last Ludacris hit?
Couple my chick bad, my chick hood, my
Which
chick
was
good.
probably what,
maybe
4 years ago?
Maybe 2. I mean, Jay-Z retired. I mean, I don't know. Okay, Jay-Z's like doing relevant stuff. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like most of his greatness.
My Chick Bad is from 2010.
Okay.
Jay-Z just had a new album. Last year?
Yeah,
I believe.
And he retired, and
that album wasn't very good.
And he is. I'm not saying he's not relevant. I'm saying I don't like him. His songs that are great because Timbaland made them. Like his taste in production is impeccable.
Put him on top.
Is impeccable.
But
however,
a lot of rappers produce their
I understand.
His flows are not.
No,
that's true.
I don't feel like he is. He has a lot of I guess, extra credibility with everybody. Yeah. Because he does stay in the forefront. He does stay up front. He does stay relevant because he puts himself in front of everybody.
Yeah.
But I don't think that his music is all that great to make him the greatest.
He's an artist. He's an auteur. But when you can almost hear him dialing the phone when he phones in his verses these days. He was talking about fucking being Ike Turner on his latest hit with Beyonce. And it's like, are you really so culturally irrelevant that you're going to culturally, I don't know, myopic that you're gonna liken yourself to Ike fucking Turner in 2015, like a domestic abuser of one of the best singers of the time.
From a complete body of work.
Yeah,
I feel like Jay-Z's. You go back to Reasonable Doubt. I mean, Reasonable Doubt is widely considered one of the greatest albums of all time, right?
I don't know what's on those, but
Reasonable Doubt was his debut.
Okay.
Didn't have as many commercial hits. Part of the big songs that people would know, maybe I don't know how successful they were, but Can't Knock the Hustle, Dead Presidents, Can I Live, Regrets. I don't know.
Personally, I think Black Album was good. The album he did with Kanye was probably I thought was the second best.
Throne?
Yeah. I thought that was probably his second best album. Other than that, maybe one or two songs on every other album.
I thought his album was The Blueprint. I thought the Black Album was after that.
Let me put it this way: I could sing the hook of many of Jay-Z songs. That is a tribute to his choice of producer. I cannot rap you any Jay-Z other than maybe part of Crazy in Love. I love Kanye West. I could tell you Kanye West's lyrics from My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which is one of the best records. I could tell you Kendrick Lamar lyrics from his newest album. I could tell you what else is way out there. I got Outkast lyrics. All of the everything. Tupac lyrics. There are Tupac lyrics that have changed my life.
I raised my daughter to Jay-Z lyrics.
No.
I tell her, hey, when the grass is cut, the snakes will show.
All right, hold on. What's your take on Busta Rhymes?
I love Busta Rhymes.
By far, probably one of my most.
Okay,
the first album was good. Everything else is kind of, for me,
all right,
it's just kind of
Let's do this then. I've got a good round table. Let's go through. Let's go around. Andy, we'll have you go last since you would be considered the expert of the table.
I'm not an expert.
Let's start with Vic. Your Mount Rushmore of rappers.
Oh, God.
Oh, that's good.
Busta Rhymes.
Busta Rhymes, all right.
And you can only get 4.
The Busta Rhymes is going to be tough because that's going to take a lot of chiseling for that hair.
I'm going to say Busta Rhymes. I'm going to say LL Cool J would be my second.
See, which he should have been on this list, too, I thought.
He definitely should have.
Yeah.
I think they may have taken away points for, like, I think lip licking was...
That's why ladies love Cool J, though. I would say Beastie Boys had to be on there as a group. I really
Stack our heads on top of each other.
Now we use that robot from Intergalactic to represent.
And then I think that I honestly think the Machiavelli album for Tupac was probably one of my.
Oh, I'm sorry. We weren't doing Mount Rushmore of albums.
No, I'm talking about Tupac. The Machiavelli album puts him on that list.
Okay, gotcha. So, not just the fact that it's widely considered he's probably the greatest of all time, just that album. All right, black in here.
Don't hate.
Now, Corey, I'm surprised Corey's list isn't going to be like, well, Nelly did that song.
Well,
he did that song, Tim McGraw. He's a good country boy.
it'd be Snow and Vanilla Ice, Eminem.
And then put him in Slim Shady. Slim Shady's the fourth.
Okay, my 4 would be Biggie.
He would have been my fifth if we had one.
Eminem?
Yeah.
Biggie, Tupac, KRS-One, and Chuck D.
Not shabby.
Yeah.
It's not shabby. Mine would be Tupac, Jay-Z, Eminem, and then probably Talib Kweli.
That's a good one.
I really like Talib Kweli.
That's really great.
And I feel like he is a modern day John Lennon if you follow him on social media. He really, or not, sorry, not John, Bob Dylan.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Just as far as being socially conscious and speaking out on it in a time when most people are afraid of losing. I mean, he's never been mainstream, probably for that reason, but he doesn't care. He's built enough of a cult following to sustain it.
Yeah.
All right, and now to Andy D.
Mine's probably going to sound a lot like Vic's, actually. I like Tupac. Like I said, I don't think any song in the genre has had like such an impact on my life. It's like the most feminist song made, period, let alone in hip-hop, as Keep Your Head Up. It's incredible and will always be relevant as long as there is gender in the human race. So Tupac is number 1. Beastie Boys had such just whole, like, talking about like artists that have like albums. You know, hip-hop is not an album format generally, but the Beastie Boys did it right. So if I get them as one face,
You get the robot head.
yeah. But Tupac is my Teddy, and that's my favorite president as well. And those guys would probably be Lincoln. And then
You know what my favorite president is?
who?
Barack Obama, motherfucker. And I would actually have to. I love Talib, but I forgot. I had to put Snoop in there.
Yeah, Snoop's great.
Snoop has to be my fourth.
But I think Chuck D would be on mine as well.
So we've got Tupac, the Beastie Boys, Chuck D.
And the last one is so hard because
Who's your Washington?
I do love Busta Rhymes. I'd have to do the Outcast if the Beastie Boys get 3 faces. I got to put both their faces on that.
It is almost a list we could have gone top.
Just be a
You
dog.
could have.
Just be a dog.
Yeah. Well,
That dog from the front.
they also did albums so well, and they did like double albums.
Yeah.
Their style. They introduced the world to Southern hip hop, and Southern hip hop is so relevant right
Now,
now. It has been.
I'll say I personally think as groups go, I put Bone Thugs and Harmony at the top of my list.
It's pretty. They're pretty amazing as well.
And they're another group that does more of the albums, the artistry. I mean, Art of War to me is one of the most underrated rap albums of all time,
Yeah.
especially disc 1. It is incredible. It is,
Yeah.
especially if you got some weed.
And
What I have found though is like when I was living in Florida, that a lot of people like it was almost regional. Like the further north you get, the more popular Bone gets.
Well, yeah, especially Midwest.
So it's like amazing at how like
are they from St. Louis?
Cleveland.
Oh, you
it's
said Cleveland.
amazing how strong like their
Yeah.
influence is. The closer you get
Yeah,
to
yeah.
it. And like a lot of, I mean, obviously you have New York rappers, but you still don't see that same influence in so many people as you do when they get to that.
And I feel like they came out of a time they just got lumped into West Coast because of Eazy-E's mentorship.
Do you have any kids?
No.
See, this is the one issue that I have had. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and I like to teach her the classics.
Yeah.
But I also want to teach her to not be racist. So it's that fine line you walk when you go, no, you never say that word. No one should ever say that word. Now let's listen to this. Let's listen to this Jay-Z song called "Two African Americans Abroad."
And then you have to like,
Jigga my something or another.
you have to like explain. I don't know. It's hard.
I tell her, well, I'm like, well, black people can say it.
Well, yeah, I feel like there are like 36-year-old men right now who aren't mature enough to understand white privilege to try and understand it. You know, explain it to a smaller child.
I mean,
there are people.
You can't say it. Black people, you say ninja when they say it. You say ninja. That's how you say it.
Ninja.
But I sometimes forget because I'm used to this being in my car and Vic, I love you. But if I'm in the car by myself and I'm listening to Jay-Z, I'm not censoring myself.
There
Who sings this song? I mean, I'm not going to do it just because I
please
as a
do.
black man...
You are the only one that can do
I,
it.
as a black man, will not
Give us the
proliferate.
first one of the show. Come on.
So there's a song that goes, nigga, 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 nigga.
Yes.
You can take some.
We need to get the first one, the first 12.
Okay, so that song, I was watching something, and it was a news clip where this old lady's driving around in this big ass pimp Cadillac, right? And they were talking about how she's like 89 years old and she's still driving her big pink Cadillac. And the sound producer for the news played that as she was driving away.
I've seen that.
They were like, nigga, 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 and they were like, oh. The anchor woman comes on, she goes, I would like to apologize for the last segment that just happened. She like would not make eye contact with the camera. She was just like, I got stuck saying sorry for this. It was great.
I have a feeling when this opened Pandora's box and Vic is just going to be dropping them right and left now. And to be honest, I thought the first one was I thought it was going to be Corey. I really did.
I think the size difference between me and Corey keeps him in bed.
As a peace offering, though, I will say, like, that is utterly changed. Like, I know how important Jay-Z is, and like I said, I will watch. Fade to Black, is that his?
The concert in Madison Square Garden?
No, but there was also what was the documentary that, it had him and like...
Backstage.
Yeah, Kanye when it was like really young. And he like,
Backstage.
he shows up at like Timbaland's studio in Miami. I was like
It's Fade to Black.
hearing Brush Your Shoulders
It's
Off.
the
for the first
Madison
time.
Square Garden mixed in with the vignettes of how he records.
Like that's an
Black
amazing documentary. Like I like. It's just when it comes to like his actual flow, his actual like what he has to say. It just doesn't hit as hard for me as I still love his music. So,
I don't understand how
And they're going purely by popularity.
they've got to be. I don't because.
How is Tupac not right though?
How is Tupac not on there? And if I guess they can't be going by popularity. Or Tupac would be on there.
No. I'm talking about by Billboard's, like their editor's standard of popularity.
Right.
But I mean, I still don't understand how Chuck D and KRS-One didn't make it on those lists.
True.
I mean, because they should have been.
Thank you for joining us today on the Showdown Podcast. Just another reminder. Yeah. Jay's even worried that he didn't make any of your guys' Mount Rushmores.
No.
He just brushed his shoulders off.
Timbaland would be though. Timbaland would be on my Mount Rushmore of producers. Yeah.
But we do appreciate you guys joining us for Vic Miller, Vic, my nigga, Miller, and Corey, that racist guy, Miller, and our special guest, Andy D. I'm your host, Brad Scott, and when you come back, we'll still be the Showdown.
I'm an angel. My halo is a disco ball. 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 I like my movies like I like my women. Short, low budget, and independent. I like my film like I like my ladies. Funny, action-packed, and made in the 80s. Here at the party, I'm good with the chicks. I overflow with confidence like I got 3 dicks. And I move real fast. On all my dates, like I could go gadget, roll the skates, you think my style is sweet. It ain't my fault, I live by the magic law, Versace gestalt. I'm way more than the halo is a disco ball. My halo is a disco ball. Rolling to the party looking like a mess. Step on the floor, try to cause me stress. Won't even dance cause you tore your dress. What the hell, girl? Why you all up in my nest? Why you all up in my nest? All up in my nest. What the hell, girl? Why you all up in my nest? All up in my nest. All up in my nest. What the hell, girl? Why you all up in my nest? She's holding up the wall like it's gonna fall. She just plays it cool and won't dance at all because dance is divine and we shine like the sun. She ain't the kind of lady that knows about fun. So feel it all around, make the devil run. Something funky this way comes. It's Andy D. Welcome to the fold. Shining like some erotic gold. You tried to buy my love, it was already sold. Your legs spread faster than the common cold. I know you wanna laugh, but you ain't that bold. I'm what you wanted to be when you were 8 years old. Let's rock and roll this joint out. Let's get drunk and get thrown out. Now all your hair is blown out, and my stash is grown out. We're angels on the dance floor. We're angels on the dance floor. I see your devil, look back, pick up a ball. I'm an angel, my halo is a disco ball. I see your devil, look back, pick up a ball. I'm an angel, my halo is a disco ball. My halo is a disco ball. My halo is a disco ball. My halo